I think it's interesting to read criticism of the Beatles, both positive and negative, and especially the negative, because when I read the negative reviews, you know, they kind of go in a few different categories. Some of them can just be, like thrown in the garbage, like it's all sour grapes, or they don't know what they're talking about, or they're afraid or whatever. Or sometimes, they're just, trying to be contrary, or they're just trying to be edgy. Okay. But sometimes negative criticism can be like interesting or informative, and as well as highly entertaining. I think that's the case with Nik Cohn's contemporary review of the Beatles' double White Album from 1968. Nik Cohn, he's a writer, a music critic, and some people refer to him as a pioneer when it comes to rock journalism. And I agree with him on that. And there in 1968, he's 23 years old, and it seems he had very good instincts when it comes to rock music. He knew what he liked. He was very passionate, and for the most part, he knew what he was talking about. But you're 23 years old, man, and you don't always have a good grasp on nuance. And I really think that's the case here, with his review of the Beatles' White Album. But it's not just the White Album that he's talking about here in this New York Times article. I think it's like December of 1968. He's also reviewing the Rolling Stones' Beggar's Banquet. Okay, and he goes on and on about how much he loves the album and how great the Stones are. And then he starts comparing it to the Beatles' White Album. And it's quite the contrast that he has going on here. He starts off talking about the Beatles by saying, by contrast, the Beatles' album is nothing. It's titled simply The Beatles. It comes in a plain white cover, and it covers 30 songs lasting for almost 90 minutes. Okay, well, he's right so far. It ranges wide from classic rock through country and western, through avant-garde electronics to Mach 1930, from city blues through schmaltz, through English music hall, and back to mainline pop again. Okay, all right, so far so good. It is by turns solemn and facetious, despairing and camp, maudlin and uproarious. Well, okay, quite obviously it's been put together with endless care and tenderness, and finally it's boring almost beyond belief. Okay, you've lost me here, Nick. What's gone wrong? Basically, the trouble is simply that rather more than half the songs, more than half the songs are profound mediocrities. Okay, once again, I'm absolutely lost. What is going on here? He's not talking about the Beatles' White Album here. They're not new. The lyrics aren't sharp. They're not even felt. I don't know what he's talking about. The lyrics aren't felt. I'm sorry. Like, they're feeling Julia. They're feeling Blackbird. Even like long, long, long. And while my guitar gently weeps, all kinds of feelings that are seriously felt. Ugh, okay. I don't know. Is he just trying to be edgy? This is a case where I think he's just trying to be contrary and poke the bear. He almost sounds like angry, okay? Mostly they're rehashes of stuff that the Beatles have already done much better elsewhere. Okay, I don't really know what he's talking about there. I'm just not sure. But in general, I do think that artists, we always work to improve what we have done before. So I don't know. He says, even worse, faced by such deadwood, the Beatles haven't played it open, but have covered up with a tortuous network of cross-references and jokes, pastiches and throwaways, a dreadful sniggering at their own sources. So he's upset that the Beatles are having a good time. That's what it sounds like to me. And it sounds like they're all having this joke here and it's going right over his head. Oh my God. Okay. And as they said they would, they've returned to their roots in 50s rock, but they haven't gone back hard. They don't mash out anything really loose and raucous. Okay, whatever. Instead, they hide behind Send Up. The middle eight of Back in the USSR, for instance, is pure surf-age Beach Boys, but it's all half-hearted and limp. The Beach Boys themselves did it 10 times better. Okay, well, that's fine. The Beach Boys are doing the Beach Boys. That's fantastic. It's wonderful. I agree, okay? But the Beatles aren't trying to do the Beach Boys. The Beatles are trying to do, the Beatles doing the Beach Boys is what they're doing. Again, it goes right over his head, man. We all are loving it. Okay, I'm sorry. And he goes on. In this way, scattered through the album, there is mock cowboy, Rocky Raccoon, mock West Indies, obladi oblada, mock blues, your blues, mock Muzak, good night, even mock Beatles, Glass Onion, and none of it works. It all loses out to the originals. It all sounds stale. Okay. Now, I don't think that they're necessarily, what maybe Mock Cowboy with Rocky, they're having fun with that. Okay, it's fun. And John is mocking the Beatles with Glass Onion. That's absolutely true. But that's the joke, man. It's fine. All of that is wonderful. Okay, mock blues, your blues. I don't know. Are they mocking it? I don't think so. None of that is stale to me. Obla-dee, obla-da. Okay. What survives in all this? Not very much. Sorry, not very much. The continuing story of Bungalow Bill is cheerful homicide, so he likes that song. With an instantly hummable melody and some good Lennon-esque lyrics. Hey, Bungalow Bill, what did you kill, Bungalow Bill? And then he goes on and he starts talking about Don't Pass Me By. Ringo Starr's first published composition is the Beatles 5 years back. Straight ahead and clumsy. I don't understand what he means by clumsy. Does he mean that the Beatles were just stumbling around back in the early days, just falling face first into money and luck? What does he mean by that? Straight ahead and clumsy and greatly enjoyable. I don't understand. Backed by a beautiful hurdy-gurdy organ. That's the piano. That's through a Leslie speaker. That's what he's talking about there. And made perfect by Ringo's own vocal, sleepwalking as ever. So you see what he's doing here? What he's like doing here, he's like both sides of the coin. He's like giving you a compliment and he's smacking you in the face basically here. Why Don't We Do It in the Road is a fragment, a nice one. Okay, so you see, like anything that he likes, he just got a couple words. It's nice, okay? And it is nice. He is right about that. Revolution, taken much slower here than on the single, has excruciatingly smug words. So he likes to add like excruciatingly smug rather than excruciatingly nice. He didn't even say very, he says it's nice. Okay, I'm sorry. Smug words, but remains a brilliant melody line. Helter Skelter is solid hard rock. Okay, see again, he just goes solid hard rock. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I'm so tired harks back to I'm only sleeping. Not nearly as good as that, but not bad either. Some days I like I'm so tired better. For the rest, it's dross almost all the way. You know what dross is? Dross is like that scum at the bottom of like any pond or anything. It's gross, it's disgusting, it's fungus, it's throwaway, it's garbage, basically is what he's saying. I mean, he's throwing the whole album out and just has a few choice words to say. What is it, like 5 or 6 songs he's talking about here? Like, I don't know where he's coming from. I think he almost sounds pissed off. I mean, what do you think? The only track that I found myself actually playing for pleasure has been Happiness is a Warm Gun, which is obviously mostly by John. What is this obviously mostly? What does he mean by that? I almost think he's trying to sound smart there, which is obviously mostly by John Lennon and which stands in roughly the same tradition as A Day in the Life and I'm the Walrus. Now, I got to disagree with him on that. I don't think it's in the same tradition. I mean, definitely this is John being like somewhat cynical here and having fun, quite frankly. But I don't know how much fun John is having with A Day in the Life or I'm the Walrus. And I'm the Walrus, yes. But this is John. Those 2 songs are more psychedelic. They're more John, in my opinion. He's, once again, I think just like right over his head, man. And as usual, Happiness, here's talking about Happiness as a Warm Gun, includes more than its share of half-baked poeticisms. Okay, I think I'm saying that right. She's well acquainted with the touch of the velvet hand like a lizard on a window pane, but towards its climax, it breaks into a marvelous parody of high school rock in the mid-50s, of groups like the Diamonds and the Monotones, and Lennon keeps repeating the title phrase, Happiness is a Warm Gun, and the Beatles sing bang, bang, shoot, shoot in back of him. Just this once. The takeoff has edge. It's not pure self-indulgence. Well, okay, good for him for enjoying this really interesting, wonderful song. And then he talks about self-indulgence. Well, I think he's right. This is a very self-indulgent album, but he's criticizing it. He's saying that's a negative here. This is them creating this album for them, for themselves. They're talking about what's going on with them. They are indulging themselves, just like we see them indulging themselves in Get Back. They're just at a jam session. They're enjoying themselves. That's them in their creative process. They're just enjoying being a band. They're having fun just for the fun. They don't have to do anything. They have to produce anything. They don't have to make you happy. This is just them enjoying themselves as this wonderful party. And the dude, once again, is missing it, man. It's going right over his head. Yes, it's self-indulgent. And we're right there in it with them enjoying themselves here. And about the album as a whole, I think it's bad. I still think it's bad, but I don't think it matters much. The Beatles are going through a bad patch right now, and their ego trip is out of control. But they're too restless, too self-critical, and too clever to stay like that. Okay, well, thank you very much. Next time around, no doubt they'll make it good again. Okay, well, spoiler alert. Okay, this guy in the Abbey Road review, he didn't like that. He didn't like Abbey Road either, for crying out. Didn't like Abbey Road. Okay, dude. Was it self-indulgent too? Who knows? Stay tuned to find out about what he thinks about that. And you know what? He goes on and on here before talking about how, oh, this is very John Lennon. And he talks about, oh, just like, I'm the Walrus and Day in the Life. Oh, it's just like that. On Abbey Road. He didn't even know that it was Paul singing Oh, Darling. He thought it was John. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Sorry. And in the end, though, listening to the two albums side by side, I feel again what I've always felt, that the Stones are potentially the biggest group ever, and that Jagger is the natural Elvis of his time. Now, I know that people do like to compare, people, you're this and whatever, but I don't think you can with icons as big as Elvis or Mick Jagger. Or even like John Lennon, Paul, or the Beatles and the Stones and Elvis. You cannot compare that. They're icons. They're almost like gods, okay? They're like supernatural. You can't compare them, and they're so very different at what they do and unique at what they've done. You cannot compare them. They stand alone. And they're in a group or something, but they're just, you can't compare them. And I think he does them both of those people, grave injustice by comparing them. Sorry. The Beatles, of course, are more profound. They're sharper and more inventive. They're really much more talented. But the Stones are excitement and flash and sex. They're pure wildness. And that, finally, is what rock lives off. Okay, so that's fair. That's absolutely fair. And he knows what he likes, and I like how he writes that. And now, because they've so abjectly mishandled themselves, okay, I don't think that they're ever going to explode quite as hugely as they should have done. Who knows? I think they've missed their chance, but didn't the Stones, they've just released another album that went number one. Oh, they're missing out. Oh my God. Okay. But still, Beggar's Banquet has it all, everything it takes, and it makes any other album issued this year look dumb. Okay. Again, I gotta hand it to the guy. The writing skills are like off the charts. It's incredible. His ability to kind of piss you off and really say something and be interesting. I mean, it's just very interesting to read something like this. And again, this is his contemporary, criticism, his contemporary 23-year-old review of the Beatles' White Album, and you really just can never put your finger on what's going on with these artists. Because again, even like with Paul's latest album, Ringo's latest album, sometimes it's difficult to really give a good review of something that just came out, or even like over a year. You let it sit for a year, and it's still difficult to really pin it down what exactly is going on and give it like a fair review. Maybe it does need a few years for you to really see exactly what's going on. But this guy, so lucky to be there with Beggar's Banquet and the White Album. And again, look up all the other albums that came out in 1968. Those other albums are not like the band's album, like Big Pink. Okay, I don't think so. I guess he has his opinions. He likes what he likes. I do still feel like he's very instinctive and intuitive when it comes to rock music. And I do kind of like how he writes, because it really does push your buttons. And I really dig that stuff. It's almost like what the White Album is doing. It really is kind of pushing your buttons here, making you think and getting you outside of your comfort zone. But this guy here, Nik Cohn, he's still around. And he did sort of temper his take on the album somewhat. He understands now, okay, maybe I didn't quite understand the nuance back then, but he still doesn't feel like it's a masterpiece. And that's perfectly fair. Good for him for standing up, for the most part, and also good for him for coming back and saying, okay, maybe I didn't quite get it. Maybe it's better than what I thought. Okay. But like I said, it's always cool to go back and look at this stuff. It's all very interesting. It's all very informative. And like I said, highly entertaining. So I hope you had a great time. So go ahead and check this out. I'll leave a link to where I found this review at. And you can also see there's a link to his Abbey Road album review. It's just fantastic. And again, not a bad guy. I think he's just fine. Anyway, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really and truly appreciate it. And until next time, peace, love one another. But I'm never going to forgive him for saying boring and mediocrity. And also for not even mentioning, like George Harrison here. Oh, okay. I take everything nice I said about him back. I take it all back. Take care, man. More than half the songs are profound mediocrities. I do not know what he's talking about.
It was great. It's sold. It's the bloody Beatles White Album. Shut up.